Hello, BookTube, and hello, AuthorTube. We are now 8 days into the month of October, which, for all intents and purposes, is Preptober. I know that on BookTube we also have Victober, a celebration of Victorian literature, and I love that. But we also have just this last month, these last 3 weeks, to prepare for NaNoWriMo in November. That's National Novel Writing Month, when hundreds of thousands of people all around the world come together in the month of November to write the beginning of a novel. 50,000 words, 1,667 words a day. And there are some general rules. The NaNoWriMo people are wonderful. This event has grown from grassroots to being a major success. There's tons of merch, tons and tons of outreach and subsidiary events, and the website is very elaborate. And also genuine publishing successes have spawned from NaNoWriMo. Dozens of them have. Publishers look at it now, and you can understand on one level why they would, right? Because NaNoWriMo proves that you have the grit of your dreams, that you can not only dream about writing, but actually sit down and make yourself do it. During a month that a lot of people find very hectic for school, for major holidays, for travel, November can be hectic, to put it mildly. People still do it. Plenty of people still do it. And we're going to do it on this channel. We're going to do it. We're going to be NaNoWriMo writing buddies, and we're going to form a vast web, a Borg-like concentration that will help us to get through together. No matter how skilled you are, no matter how experienced you are at doing this, no matter how many times I've done NaNoWriMo, many, many times, through sheer technical incompetence on my part, my NaNoWriMo page only shows a few of the times that I've done it. But I have done NaNoWriMo many times, and I've never failed. There's no real way to fail unless you just stop doing it. If you fail to reach 50,000 words, you've got 30,000. That's still a good amount. That's still something to pat yourself on the back for. But the NaNoWriMo itself uses the term winning. You can win NaNoWriMo by reaching 50,000 words in the month of November. And I've done that every time. I have never failed to do that at NaNoWriMo. But even I need the help. Everybody needs help. The more people you have, the better. Writing is a grinding, solitary experience, and it's made all the worse when you have a daily deadline, when you have a daily word count. That is more and more pitiless. So having people to talk with, complain with, keep in mind, I am advocating not only that we are all writing buddies in November, but that we form a gigantic Voxer group dedicated to this. Now, I have no idea how to form a Voxer group, so one of you would have to do that. But I strongly suggest, we have plenty of time still to talk about it and plan it, but I strongly suggest that all of us who are going to be doing this be in a Voxer group so that we can talk to each other about this as it's happening. But we have 3 more weeks in October. And because I was distracted, and because I let time get away from me, and because October caught me by surprise, and now because I've been a little under the weather, I have not stressed in the last days of September what the last days of September should have been used for, which is coming up with your general story, hatching your general story, the general idea. What is it that you're going to be writing? NaNoWriMo has all sorts of rules. They frown on you continuing any older work. You can do it if you want. Of course, you can do anything you want at NaNoWriMo. But I myself think that what we should be doing here is writing something from scratch. It's not fair if some of us have the momentum that comes from a longer project that is continuing, and some of us are starting from scratch. Better to start from scratch. I've heard from lots of people that they would start from scratch, but they're worried about what will happen to the momentum for the earlier project if they abandon it for a month. To which I have a very Steve reply, which is that momentum should be an illusion. You're in control of whether or not you keep writing something. Momentum is just another way that writers have come up with to allocate responsibility for whether or not they write today to something outside of their control. That drives me crazy. You're going to be hearing a lot about that from me in the upcoming 2 months. That drives me crazy. Anything that you do to allocate agency of your writing outside of yourself is a cheat. All of it is designed to procrastinate. So I need my mood music, and if I don't have it, well, then I can't write. Well, I need to be in a certain carol of a certain library, and if it's closed, if it's Labor Day or whatever, well, then I can't write that day. I need peace and solitude, and if I don't have it, well, then I can't write that day. I have to have a certain amount of snacks, and they have to be in just the right progression, or I can't write. Now, personal rituals like that are designed to take your responsibility away from yourself and put it in some mystical rabbit's foot. Don't do it. Don't do anything like that. So when people complain to me, when they not complain, but when they say, I would start a brand new project, but I'm worried that once I was done, once November is over and December comes around, that I wouldn't be able to get my old project started again. Well, your old project is entirely under your control. So you can. You can get it started again. It's just a matter of writing words. That's all. There are no gods involved. So you can. And I think the experience of writing something from a cold start uh, in the month of November, especially with a large group of people, has benefits that outweigh the fact that you're putting an ongoing work on hold for a month. That's what I think. So what I wanted to do at the end of September was continue to hammer at the fact that you should be setting aside time, go for a walk, sit in your easy chair, sit up in bed, and put everything else away and think about what it is that you want to write. What is the general thing that you want to write? Do you want to write science fiction? Do you want to write military history or military fiction? Do you want to write a very small scale, cozy piece of domestic fiction? An Alice Munro style thing where two spinster aunts at a kitchen table, that sort of thing. Don't know why you would, but you might want to. It takes all types to make the fiction world go around. The end of September, the month of September, is when you should be dreaming of all those possibilities and deciding which one excites you the most, because it has to be you. Let's not talk. We're going to be addressing the subject of expectations and the outside world many times in the upcoming weeks, but let's not talk about that. We shouldn't ever be thinking about that. The whole question here is what gets you going. Because if you're not excited to sit down and write your 1,667 words that day, and believe me, there are going to be days when you're not, then you won't do it. So that was supposed to be the end of September, and then we were going to take the whole month of October to plot. But we fell behind. We're not that far behind. It's just a week. We've just lost a week. That's all. 3 weeks is a long time to plot if you're giving a lot of time to it every day. And keep in mind, unlike writing, plotting can be done while you're waiting in line. It can be done while you're having a tedious conversation with your cross-eyed significant other. It can be done at any time. Any time that you have at your disposal while you're awake, you can be plotting. So what we need to do today, what we're doing today, is planting a flag in a field. This is the day when we decide what we're going to do. And that decision isn't just inner. That decision actually has an outward manifestation, which is that today you are going to make your NaNoWriMo page. You're going to go to the NaNoWriMo website, log in if you haven't ever done NaNoWriMo before, create an identity, and then make your project where you give it a working title. I would strongly advise that you add a visual icon. If you go to, I'm going to leave a link to my NaNoWriMo page. If you go there, you'll see an example of the new website. The new website has a few wrinkles that seem to have changed. Maybe some of you have been following it more closely, so you might know the details a little better. It looks to me like the website no longer has, when you look at a list of someone's projects, previous projects on NaNoWriMo, it used to be that you had the picture, the book cover, as it were, the title, and then a one or two line tag description. It looks to me like the tag descriptions have gone away. I could be wrong about that. I've looked around the site, but I haven't seen them. But whether they're there or not, you should at least have the picture, your name, your account, and the working title of your work. And that should be today. So today you are done spinning the possibilities on a wheel. Today you decide on something and make it real on the NaNoWriMo website so that we can all find you, so that we can all find each other. Dozens and dozens of us, I would like. Just dozens and dozens of people, all pulling for the same goal. It's an amazing experience. I have written many novels for friends, for personal enjoyment. Almost all of the ones that I've written have not been for NaNoWriMo. And I can attest to the fact that the feeling of finishing something like this, even if it's only 50,000 words, is amazing. If you haven't ever experienced it and you actually get there, you're going to experience something that you are very much going to want to repeat. it is an extremely addictive process. That's why people keep doing it, even in the face of mountains of rejection and no professional satisfaction. We're going to be getting to professional satisfaction, but it is an extremely addictive feeling. Maybe not at the very beginning, because at the very beginning you are still carving out the bare bones structure of your world from solid rock. That's a lot of work, and it doesn't have a lot of payback. But once you have carved out that world and you start to live and move around in it and get your characters moving around in it, there's nothing like it. I know I'm not describing it very well, but there is nothing like it in the world. And the amazing thing, as I've said many times on this channel, the amazing thing about 2019 is that all of us can do it. That feeling was once reserved for a tiny fraction of humanity. And most of us in the lives that we would have led in 1840, in 1740, in 1640, we would not have had access to do anything like this. Now we can. And you can experience that feeling, and it's amazing. Just amazing. It's been attested to by many, many a novelist. So that's what we're doing today. Feel free to sound off in the comments field about what your project is. Today we are deciding on what our project is, because for the rest of October we are going to concentrate on plotting. Keeping in mind, deciding what your story is not at all the same thing as plotting. Plotting is where you decide, how many eyes it's going to have, how many nostrils it's going to have, how many fingers it's going to have, what's going to happen in that general story that you are deciding on today. And as since I'm part of this whole thing, since I'm holding you to account, I'm doing it myself. I've had many possibilities. I have an open document here on the trusty iPad that I've been sort of bouncing it back and forth, trying to think out what will have the most carrying power, what will keep me interested during the dark periods of NaNoWriMo. There are dark periods of NaNoWriMo. There's the second week is the north face of Everest. It's Heartbreak Hill at the Boston Marathon, and you're going to want as much help as you can get during that time. But we're going to be going. We'll go over practical advice about getting through NaNoWriMo in future videos. But my own project, the one that I decided on, is the Stevereads, and this is I'm finally going to write a historical novel about Sir Philip Sidney. I'm not quite sure of the working title. The Stevereads will work for now. Being a pun on the Iliad, being a pun on the Aeneid. This is going to be a historical novel about Philip Sidney, who is not known anymore outside of English classes. He's not read anymore for pleasure. No one knows it all. But he had a fascinating life, and it's extremely well documented. And I want to have a go at it. I've read all of his biographies. I've read all of those documents, read all of his work a million times, and I'm fascinated by the story. So again, you don't need to know the details today of anything that you're putting forward. I know the working title, and I know the subject matter. It's going to be a historical novel about Sir Philip Sidney. That's all I need to know for today, and that's all you need to know for today. Now that I've got that down, I'll leave a link to my NaNoWriMo page. Now that I've got that down, what follows in the next 3 weeks is, okay, well, what about the life of Sir Philip Sidney? What am I going to do? Because keep in mind, a historical novel about the life of Sir Philip Sidney is not finished by any means, because what's missing from that description is a plot. Just telling a historical novel about the life of Sir Philip Sidney will lead to a giant wodge of boredom. I'm sure that you have read many historical novels that did only that, where that's all they want to do, and that's not enough. A person's life is not a plot. I need a plot. I need something that will happen in this book, and that will almost certainly change over the upcoming days and weeks, and that's perfectly all right. Your plot only has to be steady state, or even mostly steady state, on November the 1st. On November the 1st, you at least need to know, for instance, the first third. Pretty much solidly the first third of what you're going to write. We're going to work on getting your plot done in much greater detail than that. But even if that doesn't work, if you're a problem case and it just won't congeal, you can still easily get to work on just that little. I myself am hoping to have the whole of the Stevereads plotted in fairly good day-by-day detail before November starts, and we'll go through it all together, so you don't have to worry about that. I would strongly suggest that you keep notes. I would strongly suggest that you take a piece of paper and block it out. What are the things that are going to happen? You're going to want to fill in those blocks as the rest of October rolls forward, and ideally you would want a lot of those blocks filled uh, before November starts. You want as much preparatory work done in October as possible, because you wouldn't, if you haven't done NaNoWriMo before, you would be amazed at how fast 1,667 words a day starts to pile up. You must not miss any time, and you will miss time if you open up your computer or whatever and you're staring at a screen wondering, okay, well, what happens now? Better to eliminate that question in October. So we'll be going through that. But I wanted to tell you what my project is. It's a historical novel on the life of Sir Philip Sidney, and I want to hear what yours are. And I want links to your NaNoWriMo page. So go there and create a profile and set up your book. And then we'll start filling in. We'll start filling in all the details and asking all sorts of questions, figuring out how to hatch out an actual plot from that broader story. So that's your author to your NaNoWriMo, your Preptober video for today. Sorry that I'm not going on at greater length. I have taught writing many times. I love to talk about it. I love to teach it. But I'm feeling a little under the weather, and I'm worried at any moment here that anything I say is going to bring on a coughing fit. That won't stay true forever. But anyway, this is the starting bell video. So let's put all of those projects up on NaNoWriMo, and then we'll commence the rest of the month. We'll be giving them flesh and bone and sinew. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube, and thank you, AuthorTube.